Welcome to Delta Source, your only source for information directly from the front lines of the Clone Wars.
Ooh, we got the war journalism here for you.
And we're going to be bringing you those hard-hitting facts today, folks. No hiding from the truth here, no sir. We'll tell you what the Republic doesn't want you to know.
uh,
Yeah, but in all seriousness, we're here to talk a little bit about the first episode of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the one from '08. That is the CG one, obviously, which more people are probably familiar with.
sadly. Not sadly, it's great, but
Well, it's good too,
sadly
but
the
there
other
isn't
one
really,
doesn't have as much
yeah,
recognition.
deserves more love. I don't even know if it's on Disney Plus.
It is.
Oh, good. It's also, I think, still on YouTube. So
Oh,
it,
good.
they might have had it taken down at some point. Anyway, yes, we're here to talk about season one, episode one of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Ambush. It's the name of the episode.
So
And
our plan is to discuss how the quotes at the beginning of the Clone Wars episodes relate to the content of the episodes themselves.
yes,
So I'll go ahead and pop up the quote for this episode. Great leaders inspire greatness in others. Ooh,
oh,
that's very
inspiring.
nice.
I feel inspired by that quote. Greatly inspired. Uh,
Uh, do we want to cover the episode synopsis?
sure. Yeah, we could just run over it briefly, basically, because well, it's probably been a while since most people have seen this episode, unless you're watching along with the show. In
True.
which case, oh, good for you. Like, hey, we'd love to have you do that.
That
Obviously,
means you're
we've seen
already
them
our number
fairly
one fan.
recently. Yeah, you definitely are at that point. So this episode uh starts with Yoda's ship going towards Toydaria to do some negotiations, and he gets shot down by the CIS and ends up stuck on the planet with three clone troopers. Uh, and then he has to sort of inspire these troopers to make it through the forests of Toydaria and get them safely to the negotiation while they're attacked by droids the whole time.
Indeed.
And that's basically the summary. Spoiler-free summary of the episode, anyway.
Yeah. Also, I guess we should say there's going to be spoilers because we're going to talk about the whole
Yeah.
episode.
Right. Yeah. Well, definitely. So if you don't want spoilers for this 15-year-old episode of a TV show, then
Oh my
sorry.
god. Don't say
You might
that many
wanna.
years.
Yep. I was that old when this episode came out.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. Uh, well, anyway,
So.
I'm gonna just pour myself another drink of Carillion whiskey here and ponder where my life has gone wrong. No,
or where it's
but
gone right.
that's true. Hey, I'm here talking about Star Wars on this lovely stormy day. It could be worse.
Could be worse.
Could be worse. So, great leaders inspire greatness in others. It seems to be pretty clear they're talking about Yoda in this specific instance, and I think this one ties in pretty well because
Yeah.
the clones are kind of rookies. They're not terribly confident early on, and Yoda kind of looks them all in the eye and has a little campfire with them and tells them about their individual values and talents
And
and
how they're
makes
all
them.
unique in the Force.
Yeah, exactly. Just because they look the same on the outside doesn't mean they're the same on the inside.
Uh, yeah, I definitely saw them how they were trying to compare Yoda as a leader to the other leaders present in the episode,
Mm.
like Ventress or Dooku or King
Or the
Katunko
Targaryen
of
king. Yeah,
Toydaria,
exactly.
and to a lesser extent, maybe even the leadership in the battle droid squadrons.
Yeah, that is true because you definitely do get uh you do see the command droids here and there.
Uh, but yeah, Yoda as a leader, he definitely takes a conservative battle strategy throughout the episode to preserve the lives of his troops, because he realizes they're totally outnumbered.
Nah, that's true. You can't waste your guys, and also I think he definitely cares about them on an individual level as
Yeah,
well. He's not gonna regard his men as cannon fodder.
yeah,
Uh, which hopefully most Jedi didn't, though I know there were some that did. Uh,
yeah.
well, we'll deal with him later. Anyway,
If you
real
know,
ones
you
know what I'm
know.
talking about. Yeah, exactly. If you know, you know. Um,
While they're doing this sort of retreating guerrilla warfare type thing, he's taking notes of each of the clone troopers' flaws, so that later on he can have that campfire chat you mentioned, where
hmm.
he gives them personalized guidance so that they can each realize their full potential. And he gives them a lot of freedom and responsibility in conducting the mission after that discussion.
Yeah, he doesn't. That's true. He doesn't give them specific orders. He just says, try to stay low and help me if you think that you can do something to help me,
Yeah,
basically.
and you'll know when it's time.
Mm-hmm.
So providing that kind of trust really allows them to, rise to the occasion and build a sense of self. And then, contrary to that, the CIS command structure, from Dooku down to Ventress, trickling down to the droids, it's just all about harsh demands and belligerent rebuke when your subordinates fail.
Yeah, oh, plenty of that. Yes, as is popular with Star Wars villains, especially.
Yeah.
There is, and I think obviously some of that, you can say, well, the bad guys are using droids, so it's not like they really have, you don't really have to be nice to them necessarily. But on the other hand, ranting at them doesn't really help either.
No.
Like, they're droids. They're gonna do what you tell them to do, whether you scream it or whether you say please, or anywhere in between. They're,
unless they have one of their comedic outbursts like, well, I'm too scared to do that, or yeah.
Yeah, you do get that. That is true. The droids really are, man, I'd forgotten how much like comic relief the droids are in the early seasons of this show. And yeah, these guys are not, they're not intimidating, they're not particularly threatening. They're basically there to kind of tell jokes and get blown up. And that's pretty much,
I honestly love it. It's my favorite thing.
yeah, I don't mind it. They were never really, they're never really supposed to be that scary, and I kind of like how the lore has, I won't get into a deep droid lore conversation right now, but I do like how they've sort of tried to authors have tried to write that into the lore as reasons and excuses why the droids are so not very, good at battle. Even
right.
Though
they're battle droids.
You'd think they'd be. Well, yeah.
So one more point that I had about or noticed about Yoda's leadership strategy is I kind of felt like he was embodying like a classic Chinese mythical war hero type of figure.
Okay.
Mind you, I'm not an expert on this, but
on Chinese military history, no.
Yeah.
Well,
no, I think among like mythical figures, in Chinese mythology, they sort of have a preference for clever tacticians.
Oh, well, yeah, that's definitely true.
Over just brute force attacks, such as like this story where there's a city that needs to be defended and they're hopelessly outnumbered, so the commander has his guards, very casually patrol and look like they're not worried about being attacked, which then makes the larger attacking army nervous, thinking that they're totally prepared.
Right.
And Yoda does, similar kind of tricky battle tactics while he's leading these clones. So that was something that I noticed, or I made that connection myself, whether or not they meant it.
Yes, I think that guy's name was oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pronounce this. But I think I know who you were talking about anyway. I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's a famous story.
Incident. Yeah. Zhao Yun, maybe?
Could be.
Maybe.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I've definitely, I think that's from the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, but
okay.
So if y'all, any Asian history scholars in our audience wanna,
please
hit us up on the, yeah, I don't know if we have a
comment and like and subscribe.
Exactly. Comment, like, subscribe. Let us know who was this guy. How do you pronounce his name? Because I kind of know who he is, but I'm not. Lu Yan, maybe. Either way, whatever. I'm sure I'd butcher the pronunciation if I tried.
So while we still have a few more minutes, do you have any more points you'd like to discuss?
Let's see. I remember when I first watched this episode as a kid. I was like high school, but considerably younger than I am now anyway. I don't know. I remember being a little bit disappointed with it at the time.
Yeah.
For sure, because I was expecting it to be more action and like more big armies fighting and stuff. On the other hand, there's some, as an adult, I can look back and be like, no, it was all right. Like
Yeah.
I see what they were going for here. Not every episode needs to have like a huge, Attack of the Clones style battle at the end of it. That's not. And
And
also, they probably didn't have the budget for that.
the
To be
mindset
honest.
of a teen or adolescent excited about a new Star Wars show versus you've already seen this show before and you know what to
Right.
expect.
Right.
You go in
That
with a very
definitely
different
did,
mindset that primes you for the content.
for sure. So yeah, that's my other, thought on that one. You any other final thoughts?
I have a question or two
Okay.
that left me scratching my head. So, when at the end of the episode, Yoda and the clones, they've been leading the enemy far away from the rendezvous point with the King of Toydaria the whole time. And
Yeah.
then they defeat the droids and they almost start instantly back at the
Right where
rendezvous
the
point with the
Toydaria
king.
is.
And I just want to know how
Uh,
they covered that ground so fast because it took them like a day and a half to march the other way or something.
And then they just kind of appeared. Yeah, I don't know. Star Wars can never keep distances straight. I mean, if you look at a galactic map,
Oh yeah.
and it's not new to Disney or even Clone Wars, like it goes way further back than that. But if you look at a galactic map, it's like according to these travel distances and hyperspace speeds and stuff, like you shouldn't be able to do that. But you
No.
kind of just characters in Star Wars travel at the speed of plot.
I guess it
this
applies
is
for
really
land
it.
travel too.
Yeah, apparently it doesn't just apply to galactic travel. Exactly. Even on planet, you get where you need to go when you need to be there, not a minute before or after. Which is, I don't know. I wish that they didn't have to do that. If I were to try and make some sort of like simulationist, I don't know, game or something about Star Wars, I'd have to not have it be that way because
Right.
you gotta time and distance matter actually for purposes of fighting a war, especially if it's in the stars.
Mhm.
A lot of distance between those suckers. But it's one of those things you kind of just got to squint at it and shake your head and say, well,
Yeah.
sci-fi writers don't know what distances are, so
I've got one more question.
yes.
At the end of the episode, after Yoda and the clones come back, then reinforcements arrive with an LAAT, and the King of Toydaria and his guards get in the LAAT,
Yes.
and the door closes, and then the ship flies away. So what I want to know, once they're inside, do they just keep
They
flying?
Hovering, or do they sit on the?
Yeah, do they sit? Do they grab a handhold? Because if they don't anchor themselves to the ship, as soon as it moves, they're gonna get stuck
They're gonna
against
get
the wall.
I don't know. Well, can a fly around inside your car? Can a fly at
Yes.
60 miles an hour?
Yes. I'm
How
not
the physics
confident
of
about the
that
fluid
work? Yeah.
dynamics and how they work, but I feel like it's a little different for the fly being so small compared to the volume of air
That's a good
versus
point. Also, like
a Toydarian being a pretty macro object in the
Yeah.
space.
that is. I don't even know how those wings really hold them up all that well. To be honest, they seem pretty.
Yeah.
Though from what I recall from one of the visual dictionaries, I think it said that like a large part of their body is like lighter than air gas or something.
Oh, maybe that's why they have
Possibly.
the round belly.
Yeah, I think that was what it was. There was like the visual dictionary for Phantom Menace. So
Ah.
I might be misremembering part of that because I did read that book 20 years ago. But I think that does say that Watto has, and Toydarians generally have like some lighter than air gas in their bellies that makes them kind of float a bit, which is why their wings are so small and they can still float.
Very
Anyway, that's-
interesting.
Just a fun bit of trivia there. But yeah, I don't know how. Maybe they just sat down, or maybe they grabbed a handhold, something like that. Hmm.
Well, I think that's all we got for you this time. So, this has been Delta Source, your number one source for Toydarian biology. Until next time.
May the force be with you.